I was really excited to see the positive comments about my last video because kind of controversial in the way that I talk negatively about some things. It wasn't that controversial, but I just thought it would be. I know that some people will say that they're gonna do it, and they should. So today, I'm gonna tell you about the last 3 books that I have DNF'd. And they're all for different reasons, but it all came down to it that I just wasn't enjoying what I was reading. If you've seen my last video, you will know that I DNF'd The Winner's Curse by Marie Rutowski. And this is a well-beloved book on BookTube, and all 3 books in the series are out. Everyone loves it, and I tried to read it. Got this book over a year ago, started reading it, got 50 pages in, stopped, and then I picked it back up, read another 50 pages, and realized why I stopped reading it. I feel so disconnected with her as a character. There's something about Kestrel that is it's like a wall. She's like a wall. I don't know what's going on in her head. I just wasn't connecting with her on any level. She kind of annoyed me with how just the way she thought about things. It's in third person, so there is sort of this wall between the characters, but I just felt that I didn't like who she was, so I didn't want to read about her, and I DNF'd it. After DNFing The Winner's Curse, I moved on to another book that I had started over a year ago and wanted to kind of get into that. And I recently DNF'd The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton. And you know what? I was so looking forward to this book for a lot of different reasons, mostly because a lot of people said the writing is just gorgeous, and it is. I do believe the writing is great, but the story of it just wasn't catching my attention at all. Also, I think it was mostly because I thought it was going to be truly only about Ava Lavender. I think there's some disconnection in the way I heard about this book, because all of the time that I'm hearing about it, it's like, oh, this girl was born with wings, and da-da-da-da-da. We don't know that she was born with wings until 100 pages in. We do not meet Ava Lavender, the person, for over 100 pages. It is a family narrative from the beginning, and that's great. I really enjoyed it for a little bit of time. And then around 150, 160 pages in, it lost me because the plot was going nowhere. Now, mind you, I am not a completely plot-driven person, but the way the characters were shaping in tune with the plot wasn't going anywhere. I was not seeing any arcs. I wasn't really seeing anything that I was enjoying, so I decided to DNF it. Unfortunately, even though I've heard a lot of people really like this book, it just wasn't holding my attention enough, and I know I'm gonna give it 2 stars instead of completely 1 star, because there was a point where I read 65 pages in one go, and at the time I'm in a huge reading slump, so that was something for me. So I did enjoy it for a little bit, but I wasn't vibing with it, and it just wasn't what I wanted it to be. Also, I feel like I saw it in hauls, and it was this girl was born with wings, and I felt like it was seriously mismarketed or talked about in not the right way, because this is a true generational story where we go through all of the women of the Lavender family, and that's great. It was lovely for a little bit, and then it just got to a point where I just didn't like it anymore. So I do feel that when people haul books, they don't know what it's about, so that is also misrepresenting what the book is as well, which is maybe why I don't watch hauls anymore either. And my most recent DNF which I was very disappointed about because I really wanted to love this book, but I'm going to tell you about that. And it was The Summer of the Mariposas by Guadalupe Garcia McCall. This was in my spring TBR, and I was very excited to get to it because I've had it for a while, and the way this book is marketed is that it is a retelling of the Odyssey with 5 sisters, and they are Mexican American, and it seemed like it was going to be amazing. But I got about 50 pages into this, and I have to say that the writing is very basic. It's basic in a lot of ways, as in certain words will be repeated in multiple sentences in a row, like, the swimming hole was da-da-da. Next sentence, oh, when we were at the swimming hole, and it just kind of repeats like that. The writing wasn't anything special, and it seemed very, very juvenile. But like there could have been some type of elevation to that, in a way. And as someone whose heritage lies within kind of Mexico and Mexican culture, I was excited to get to something that, you know, is a little bit more relative to what I was like as a child and like my childhood. Something that I really wanted in this book, but it felt like the words were used as just kind of like thrown everywhere. I think if this book was written like completely in Spanish, it would be probably better, because you could probably just throw these words all around and it wouldn't make it feel wrong. But in the 50 pages I read, it just felt like these girls wouldn't be using these words, or they would be using it in a different context because they would be speaking differently, because they'd be speaking Spanish and they'd have more of a cadence with it. And it just felt like awkward writing when you throw in these random words. Besides the writing, the main thing I couldn't get past was the plot, because the beginning of this, you find out that these girls, they find a dead body in a river that is by the border, and they assume that he's this man who has a family in Mexico, and they're like, let's drive to Mexico, like that's easy. Like they, as 5, all under the age of, I think 17, can just go across to Mexico like it's nothing. And I couldn't get past that. And that's in the first, like 20 pages. It's in the first 15 pages. So the plot keeps going. It's like the first thing that happens. But then there's this lull that happens between finding the dead body and then them not telling the police, not telling anyone, putting the body in the boot of their car, and then going to Mexico, and then I was done. I couldn't imagine these 5 girls just casually putting a dead body into the boot of their car like it was nothing, like it's something that happens. That's all within the first 50 pages. I'm not telling you any spoilers. I don't know how this book ends, but I can't imagine it ends any other way than something generally okay. Imagine that any of them are going to die or anything, so it's not giving me something new or unexpected. It's giving me something that's unrealistic. Although something that this book did give me was a little bit of commentary on the police not necessarily getting involved with bodies that are found on the American side of the border who are Mexican citizens, and there was a little bit of commentary about how that's not right. Maybe it would give me more of that throughout, but I just don't see how I can look past the most unrealistic plot that I have ever read. I am putting all 3 of these books on Bookmooch. I will leave the links in the description if they are still available. And if you want to try this one out specifically, because I want to know what you think of it, please get it. Because I just want someone to maybe get through it and just tell me what happens. Because I want to know. Not enough to actually read it. Those are my latest 3 DNFs. I ain't sorry. Throwing it back to lemonade again. I will see you guys hopefully in my next video.